knowing that the whole world was going to be thrust into the arms of technology rather abruptly by the pandemic. And so we've pivoted, and obviously we're really trying now to use our time and resources to support the sector as we all go through whatever we're going through in these different, all our different environments. I want to introduce, and so we're able to do that. I want to introduce two other members of our team. So we have Caitlin Bois, who is now waving frantically, who is our database coordinator, and she is our technological whiz, and makes everything happen for us. It's the builder of the map of Canada's map of arts and learning. And Nisa Sills, Nisa's waving now, and Nisa is our researcher. So she after the first series of these roundtables, digital roundtables, Nisa pulled together all the information, all the suggestions, all the concerns, put them into a report, which now establishes a kind of a baseline as we go through this. I think what she found, well, she found a lot, and I don't want to overly simplify it, but basically in that first, when we were talking to people in March, everyone was kind of like gobsmacked, like, what? This is happening? No, what? But now I think people are thinking more a little bit about what's going to happen in the future. Like this is reality now, and so our second go round, we come armed with some questions to help the conversation. You're welcome to bring up any issues you want, of course, but we'll try to guide the conversation and see what's happening now, and what kinds of plans are being made for the future, and also ways that our organization could be helpful. Okay, so we're going to be continuing this. Is there anything else? I mentioned the thanks to the Canada Council we can do this. I think that's probably enough of a backgrounder. I'll pass it back to Jennifer, who will get us started talking to one another.
Great, thank you, Larry. So I'll do a few housekeeping items before we get started. I know most of you are probably familiar with Zoom at this point in the digital world, but just to let you know, we are recording this session, and we will be publishing it on our website for you to go back to if you wanted to revisit the conversation, or for people who were unable to attend. So just please do be aware that we are recording it. Many of you, there have been a few of you who've already found the chat, and likely you know about that. So at the bottom there is a menu that says chat. There's also another one that says participants. If you pull up both of those, so on the participants tab at the bottom, there's you have the ability to raise your hand, kind of virtually raise your hand. So once we get going in the conversation, please do try to use that to raise your hand if you want to make a comment. Or if you are having trouble with that, just wave me down or send me a message in the chat. And as far as the chat goes, please do feel free to use that. There have been it's a great opportunity to post links to anything that you're referencing in the conversation, or if you wanted to comment while somebody's speaking and you don't want to interrupt, please do put it in the chat, or you can also message somebody directly if you wanted to try to follow up with them afterwards, ask their contact information, or just comment directly to them. If possible, please keep yourself muted if you're not speaking. And I can also help you if you're having trouble with that. I can help you on my end to unmute you when you want to speak. And I will be launching a few polls during the course of this conversation. And that's just to help us collect some quantifiable data to help Nisa in the report, and just for some more information. Just let just to let you know, it's totally anonymous, so please do feel free to take part in those polls. And again, if you'd like to take part in the conversation, and we hope a few more of you will. There's 15 of you without your video on, but if you could turn on your video, and then we'll go around the room and do some more introductions, and just kind of get the conversation started that way. Great, thank you. So to start off, yeah, we'll just go around the room. We'll say, if you could say your name, your title, organization that you work with, if that's applicable, and we'll just go from there. And we'll start off with Shyama.
Hi, I didn't really expect to be on camera, so if I look not very professional, I apologize. I'm Shyama. I work for Peel District School Board in Mississauga. I teach core French, dance, and drama, and I love connecting with students more from the arts side of things than purely math and science. So that's just me. And you put me as the first person, so I don't really know what else to say.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Craig.
Hello, my name is Craig Capiccioni. I'm here on behalf of Museum Windsor, and I'm a museum coordinator responsible for exhibitions, education, and volunteers. So I'm happy to take part in this conversation.
Great, thank you. Welcome. Alison.
Okay, sorry, I was muted. My name is Alison Blackburn. I'm manager of program development with the Ottawa Public Library. And I work with the team who are responsible for system-wide programming. So we have totally had to pivot to go to a virtual world. So we're doing all our programming virtually. So I thought it would be interesting to join this conversation.
Great, thank you. Eve Graham.
Hi, my name is Eve. I am also a secondary school teacher. I teach French immersion, but I teach subject areas such as visual arts, and family studies is my other teachable. So I teach fashion and sewing.
Great, welcome. Julie. Unmute you here. There you go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Worrell. I'm currently a K-8 music teacher in London, Ontario. I have just been informed that I will be a 4-8 and a 6-8 French teacher. So I'm new to that world, and yeah, just excited to be here. And
Great, thank you. Kathleen. Sorry, Kathleen, you're muted there. Okay, go ahead. I still can't hear you, although you look like you're unmuted.
Better?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Kathleen Michalchuk. I am a volunteer representing the Chaban Ukrainian dance group out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. COVID hit just in the last stages of our dance season. So 2 months before our scheduled concert, and we turned a lot of our lessons online. So I'm interested to hear what other people are doing in terms of digital content. We may need to look at that in the fall as well.
Great, thank you. Welcome. Kiersey.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kiersey. I'm the Executive Director of the Kingston Arts Council in Kingston, Ontario. And part of what we do for the community, or try to do for the community, involves also, of course, supporting arts education initiatives both in the classroom and in the community. So this is a topic that's very close to our hearts.
Great, welcome. Kate.
Hi there. I'm Kate Ducharme. I work at, oh, am I unmuted?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, perfect. I work at the Agnes Etherington Art Center in Kingston. So again, this is very interesting for us, and I'm really happy to be part of this today.
Wonderful, welcome. Madeline.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Madeline. I work for an organization called Arts Network Ottawa. We're an arts service organization. One of the programs we run Neighborhood Arts Ottawa is a community engaged arts residency program. So I'm kind of in the process of working with all our residency artists and community partners to figure out how to do that work remotely over the next little while. So we've also, as an organization, have kind of completely transitioned to doing all of our work remotely. So yeah, and some of our work kind of is in an arts education context. So I'm very interested to be here today and to hear kind of what everyone's been up to and thinking about. And yeah.
Great, welcome. Thank you. Nicole. There you go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nikki Kazanzadeh, and I'm a grade 1 to 6 music teacher in Waterloo, Ontario with the WRDSB. And I also just finished my master's at Laurier in community music, so I'm continuing some research there. Was looking at ways to diversify the faculty music there. So I'm kind of coming at this from a post-secondary and an elementary front.
Great, welcome. Tara Burt.
Hi, that's me. Hi, everybody. I'm the arts coordinator for kindergarten to grade 12 for the Peel District School Board, and I really appreciate being invited to attend this, this conversation today. We have so many questions moving forward, especially as we try to plan ahead for September and what arts classes are going to look like, how they will be incorporated into the elementary panel, and if they will still be offered, even if they are online in September, in the music courses, the dance, the drama courses. When you said you had to pivot to technology as your primary delivery forum, we all very well relate to what that entails. And we've also got between 4,000 and 5,000 instruments currently being rented out from our various music vendors who are typically collecting them at this time of year to do maintenance over the summer and redistribute them in September. So they're all kind of looking at us for like, what do we do now? So I'm very curious to hear what's happening across the country.
Great, thank you, welcome. Pavlina.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pavlina Radia. I am the Dean of Arts and Science at Nipissing University, and I'm just here to really hear about innovative ideas of how to run our studios. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Sheila.
Hi, my name is Sheila Robitaille. I am principal of Blythe Academy in London, and we immediately switched into virtual synchronous classes immediately after March break, and we've been doing so ever since. And I'm really interested to hear the ideas that you guys have.
Great, welcome. Jaymie.
Hi, my name is Jaymie Lathem. I am the Executive Director of Creative Industries North Bay, Inc., which is a regional art service organization servicing North Bay and Nipissing in Northern Ontario. I am here to just listen and find out how other groups and individuals are adapting so that I can best serve and support my community as regional art service organization. As a support org, everyone's kind of looking to my group to help promote and adapt and kind of get through this hurdle. But as a small organization, our capacity is low. And so I'm trying to figure out exactly how to do it the best way to further support rather than just stirring the pot and building more anxiety and making more work. And looking at how this can be sustainable and not necessarily Band-Aid and relief funding, but more long-term.
Great, welcome. And Kathy Browning, I don't think we got you yet. Sorry, there you go. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me at all?
Yeah.
Okay, I just switched computers. I got two of them running now. I'm a professor in the Faculty of Education at Laurentian University, and I teach, I teach art education. I'm a practicing artist, a photographer, and a videographer.
Great, welcome. And if possible, maybe turn off the other computer or shut down Zoom on there. Yeah, that'll get
Log in on the team.
Okay, great. Well, again, I think we got everybody. Let me know, wave me down, and if you're just joining us, if you do want to take part, then please do turn on your video. Yes, Theresa, if you'd like to do an introduction.
Yes, hi. My name is Theresa Harrington. I'm a visual arts teacher with the Toronto Catholic District School Board, and I teach grades 9 to 12 at an all-girls school.
Wonderful, welcome. And Karma.
Hi, my name is Tomm. I'm the director of the Systemic Kingston program. It's an after-school music program for underserved children. We put everything online really quickly at the end of the year, but it's not a sustainable thing given the population that we serve. So we're looking to rethink a lot of things.
Great, well, thank you everyone. And again, welcome. And sorry, I'm just muting people who are not speaking right now. But so we're going to move on to the first kind of official question here. And again, in the participants tab, you can see a raise hand option. So if you'd like to answer, please do raise your hand virtually, or else wave me down and I will call on you. So first question, having experienced extended physical distancing and in the light of measures now being taken to reopen society, how have you been faring in delivery of your programs? So what kind of measures have you taken? Many of you have mentioned that you've pivoted online. What kind of things have you been doing in the last 2 months to kind of sustain or offer programming or anything along those lines? Or if you've been creating videos, or what kind of measures have you been taking? Yes, Craig.
So both of our sites, we have 2 historic sites that we manage under the Museum Windsor umbrella. Both have been closed and we have yet to reopen to the public at this point. So all of our resources have switched to online availability for the most part. So we're using mostly Facebook as one of the only social media outlets that the museum has. We're municipally funded, so we've got a lot of red tape in regards to what we can and can't create our own and share ourselves. But we've gone through Facebook to resort to, to post and share resources for education that we think might be useful for students staying at home. And we've developed a COVID journal that we've passed to the school boards through email that we're asking they pass to their teachers and or students or incorporating some lesson plans. So that's currently what we're doing as we await being able to reopen.
Great, thank you. Anyone else have any initiatives they've been taking at this point to reach out to your students or your audiences? Yes, Shyama, I think you're.
Hi, this is very basic. We've been doing Google Classroom quite often. All our weekly assignments are posted on Google Classroom. I do meet with 3 of my groups every week on different timings and dates. The challenge is not all kids are showing up. It's usually the same students who would perform well in classrooms are the ones who show up.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that's primarily my way of connecting with students and their parents, Google Classrooms.
Okay, great, thank you. Theresa.
With our board, they mentioned the synchronous video conferencing, that we could look into it if we want to, but our union is saying not to use it because of privacy issues. So I've just been sending them work every week because we have to provide 3 hours of work per week. And I've got about 90% of my students returning the assignment. So it's going pretty well.
Yeah. Interesting. I hadn't heard that about the unions yet. And what was the platform that you were saying is?
I use Google Classroom.
Google Classroom. Okay. Yeah. All right. Oh, interesting. Thank you. Nicole.
Hi, so in our board, elementary teacher, in our board, we're using Brightspace or Google Classroom. I'm using Google Classroom. Well, actually, I've been invited to all 14 of my school's Google Classrooms, and I post in their classrooms. But I've also started a Google site, and so that's kind of my holding ground for all of my musical activities that I've been creating. And I'm trying to do, because I have about 350 students, I can't really, interact individually, or definitely not live with all of them. I also have 2 tiny children at home, so it's pretty impossible to find quiet minutes. Like right now, there's somebody screaming upstairs. But I do have this website that I think is going really neat, because I've done pages like music jokes or play-alongs or outdoor fun that they can do with music. So things that they can do as a family. And I'm kind of thinking of myself as the relief from some of the other stuff that they're getting from their homeroom teachers. Our board's gone pretty slow with online learning, so they've been really encouraging us to take things really slow, and whatever you think you should do, maybe have it or quarter it. So there's no real pressure to do a lot, but I've been kind of trying to create things that they could do for fun during this crazy time.
Thank you. Kathy.
Yeah, I posted videos of visual artists in Greater Sudbury. It was posted on the Laurentian site, and I've donated DVDs recently to 8 more universities, so 14 of them. They're Indigenous, based on Indigenous artists, Anglophone and Francophone artists in the Greater Sudbury area. There's descriptions, there's relationship to the visual arts guidelines, but you could show a clip and create a drama, show a clip, write a piece, show a clip, talk about the environment or history or women's rights. So there's many ways to use these videos, and I recently posted them on the Canadian Network for Arts and Learning site, and there have been extensively used with the school districts in Ontario. So they're across Canada, and I had donated 14 DVDs each to 3 universities before that. So there's multiple ways of obtaining these, and I've written articles about it and of the usage, how my students have used them in the classroom to create, in groups, to create curriculum and to create curriculum in multiple ways of learning and knowing in different subject disciplines, not just visual arts. So I've been creating online stuff for students and teachers to use for some time, and I've been workshopping this for students and teachers as well. So that's there for you, for everybody to use. You're welcome to use it.
That's great. Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else have anything that they've been doing during this time, or kind of, yes, Karma?
Okay, so my program, we specifically work with at-risk or underserved students from grades 2 to 6. So we're a music program. When the schools shut down initially, it was right at the beginning of March break, we thought was a 3-week period. At that point, we were preparing for a year-end concert, and so we sent instruments home. Our students use string instruments, and so we sent instruments home for what we thought was a 3-week break. And in order to keep kids practicing to preparing for the year-end, our instructors quickly made play-along videos for our students of practice tempos and performance tempos on the harmony parts and the melody parts, so they could play along with different parts. It was a really labor-intensive effort on the part of our teachers, and they did a terrific job. We had about 30% uptake from our students, and so, and as time has gone on and our year-end concert was canceled, of course, interest waned, and our teachers were also offering half-hour private lessons through Zoom. Our program is mostly, it's group focused, and so all of our learning is done in groups. So the private lesson was at the beginning a treat for our students, but then it became, a pretty heavy commitment that they didn't necessarily want to keep up. So it's not a model that is going to be sustainable for us. It was a short-term gap measure to hopefully bring us to year end, but that has been curtailed. My question is, with all of the moving to online, access to online, first the hardware technology and internet access is a huge equity issue. And I hope that that's something that can be addressed at the larger level, and I'm hoping that governments will start to address that more, because not just in what I do, but in all education, the gap between access and not access is just going to get bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. And did you feel that some of the reason that you only had a 30% uptake was because of the access issue?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just a hardware and an internet access issue. It's also the conditions in which students are living, and you know, at-risk kids are living with a lot of other issues that other people simply don't have, and even access to a private, quiet space that someone else mentioned to engage is not possible for people. Or if food insecurity is a problem, they don't want to be online learning. So I think supporting our vulnerable communities in this time is hugely important, and online is not always the best way for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Does anyone have anything to say in response to that, or anyone in your own work have encountered that? We have a lot of teachers here as well, kind of across the board. Anyone else? Or any other methods that you have been taking in this period? This is actually a two-part question, and the second part of it is, how have you been faring in maintaining your personal well-being, and not just even your own personal well-being, but also your students, if there's any kind of measures that you've been taking, students or your staff, or that type of thing. So that's another thing to think about. Tara, did you have a question or comment there?
I was just going to weigh in a little bit. I think that at the onset of this situation, there was a major resource sharing campaign happening all over the place. And it took probably 2 to 3 weeks to really start to fuse or assimilate a lot of those helpful resources, and some amazing institutions and groups like the OMEA and the Ontario Arts Educators Association. These different groups work together to create incredibly helpful resources, and there's Facebook groups that support one another. They share lessons, they share some of the collaborative video compilations that have been created in music and in dance, you know, not just in Ontario, but across the globe, really. So that's been uplifting for arts educators to see some of the continuation of the creativity and really thinking outside the box. There are major challenges, as was previously mentioned, about equity in terms of accessibility to the tech resources, but also the education supports that some of the students require in order to be successful, that just aren't available in the same way through a virtual forum. So that's been a huge challenge. And there's a lot of controversy too about the synchronous versus asynchronous balance of curriculum delivery. There's a lot of resistance around privacy policy, student privacy, educator policy, and I know that the teachers for sure they've been expressing through forums like Twitter or Instagram some of the struggles that they're really having. Actually, Twitter's been a helpful resource place as well, that people can post some of their lessons or examples of things that have gone really well. And my followership increased dramatically in my own Twitter account because now teachers are starting to tag me and share what they're doing in their classes, so I can retweet it. And then a lot of their colleagues that they weren't formally communicating with are now connected to them. So I do think that that's a positive thing that's happened. The walls have come down between educators, and they're sharing their resources and their strategies much more openly, maybe first out of a state of desperation, but now because they're seeing that it can be a really effective way to engage the students. So
that's exciting. That's great. Kathy.
Yeah, when I started streaming my videos back in 2012, I know that there's equity issues in the north because I'm up in Sudbury. When libraries were open, students could always go and access things through libraries. But now that we're in a different situation, it works against those people who don't have access to all of that technology. And streaming is great because when I stream my videos and link them up across Canada with art education and education associations, it's great when everything works fine. But then that's why I started giving DVDs over to different libraries. But then there's a situation of how many computers still have DVD players. So technology is like a moving target all the time. You just get everything set up. I was struggling today. I just did something with the university on Zoom with one computer. I go on this computer and I can't get it to unmute for something else. So one thing works one place, but something doesn't work someplace else. But I think we definitely need a leveling of the playing field, even within the art galleries in Northern Ontario. One shut down in Thunder Bay, 2 shut down just recently in Sudbury, and we don't have that many art galleries to begin with. And so it's far more difficult for visual artists here to be able to share their work. And there's been cutbacks at Laurentian University in the theater, art, and the film courses that were packed. So why those types of things are happening, we have no clue. So, once again, you're signing petitions, you're trying to do what you can, to get these things to happen. So if you're in a larger community or in some places in Southern Ontario, closer to other larger communities. So if some things shut down one place, at least you can move more quickly to another place. Here, you're driving 4 hours, or you're driving a longer distance to be able to connect with people in that way. So it's very different in more, even though Sudbury is the largest community in Northern Ontario, when you have 2 galleries shut down, then yeah, there's a problem there. And yeah, I'd definitely like to see to be more equitable for all students, because not all students have that access to the technology.
Yeah. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, for sure. Anyone have any response to that? Or actually, Nicole, I liked what you were saying about your board letting you know, or your school, that it's okay to, do about half of what you think you should be doing and that type of thing in terms of your mental health. And is there any other kind of initiatives that either school boards or schools or teams have been doing mental health to get together, or helping your students in any ways? Or have you been hearing anything from your students as far as what they might need or what they've been doing at home for their own kind of mental health in this social distancing time? Well, it's something to ponder, but yeah, I'll send it over to Larry actually for our second set of questions.
Thanks, Jennifer, and great comments in the chat section. I haven't finished reading them all yet, but very good. Okay, so thank you very much, because this, first of all, there's lots of variety of ideas and things you're doing and challenges you're facing. And then there's a poll to fill out. And I'm going to ask you to get out your crystal balls now, because a number of you have mentioned what you think might be happening in the future, or what you're getting ready for. So I'd like to kind of open that up a little bit and find out what we think is going to be the future for arts and learning. At least I guess it would be fair to say in the middle term, because long term is, well, okay, long term if you can manage it, but just middle term in terms of after, we could say after it's over. Well, after, let's say they got a vaccine or something like that, and we're able to go back to, if we want to go back to normal as we had it before, it might be possible. But so what's going to happen? You're all not all, but many of you are invested very much in different technologies and looking for other technologies to help. Are you going to, when things are over, are you going to be keen to throw that over now and go back to what we were doing? Or are things going to be changed? And if so, how do you think they're going to be changed? So what is the new reality around, it's around the digital question right now. I'm going to ask the on-site question in a minute, but digitally, what do you think is going to be happening?
Has anyone looked into their crystal ball, and what do you see maybe in September? Or yes, Nicole.
I have a lot of concerns about what it looks like in September. It gets me down a rabbit hole every time I start thinking about it, especially because I think about my homeroom colleagues. They'll have their own classes, I would imagine, in some sort of spread out way. But as somebody who has 14 classes and I teach them for 30-minute periods each, sometimes up to 9 of them a day, that's pretty impossible to do, I would imagine. So I expect that we'll be told that we have to do synchronous learning in September, which makes me worried. If we're still online, if we're in person, I have no idea, because I can't imagine kids playing recorders anytime soon in my classroom, or playing boom whackers where they share them, or xylophones, or even singing at this point. So I'm not really sure what on earth I could even do, and I'm concerned what that means for my job and my career and all those things looking forwards, right? So online learning sucks. I hate it very much, to be perfectly frank. I don't enjoy it at all. I have like I said, I have 2 young children. I have a 5- and a 2-year-old at home. I'm trying to teach my son, a primary parent for my kids, and also trying to teach in a way that I'm okay with, and I'm not okay with any of it. So I've probably heard from 100 of my 350 students over this time, very sporadically. So yeah, I guess I can't really get too far ahead, but I can only think of bad things at this point.
Thank you, Nicole. Shyama, you had your, yeah. Oh, you're just muted here. One second. There we go.
My concern is more from the parents' perspective. While we get ready from the schools and education point of view, I wonder whether the parents are ready, and the parents will be ready to embrace the online virtual learning. I live in an area, especially my school is in a immigration, full of immigrants, first generation Syrian refugees and all types of people, where parents are not even tech savvy, nor they can speak English really well to communicate with the children. So we have already talked about equity as a problem, but in order to launch certain programs, even through virtual platforms, how are the parents ready to support the children is something somebody needs to take care of. If the parents are not ready to support their children in a house environment, how would you launch any type of learning? And mental health has been mentioned before. I just wanted to connect one more point to what Tara mentioned earlier. I saw all of a sudden when we went online, too many resources from everywhere. Every day I would get so many apps, so many documents, so many resources I have never heard before. And I was going crazy because nobody was trained on any of these apps in the past. And everybody's saying, mine is wonderful, use this, mine is wonderful, and no streamlining of anything. And it was, the first week was very, very hard for me just to cope with the amount of information that was thrown to us from various areas. But now I'm really very, very laser focused as to what is coming in, whether I'm paying attention or not, and the rest I don't care because I can only take so much at the end of the day. So we just need to be aware of information being shared. How much is it? Who's it going to? Is it worth it or not worth it? I could go on and on forever, but I think you get the idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Theresa.
So at the beginning, I was panicking because I never used any of these platforms before. But now I love it. I find that it's so much easier to use, and it's very linear. It's very helpful because you get the information back right away and you can respond to students so much easier. So I think when I get back in September, I think I'm going to be using Google Classroom.
Yeah.
Now that I know how to use it.
Great, good. And Julie.
I think my concern with the online elements and the technology incorporation involves a lot of education on digital citizenship. Our students, I think we're starting to see the real benefit of having that play-based learning happen so early, and all the character education that we've done in our schools and growth mindset and mindfulness and all of that is starting to kind of grandfather its way into what we're doing just in time for this totally new way of learning to start to come into an effect. So, but there's still a lot to be done with regards to how to be a student online, in particular a student of the arts. I mean, what does that even mean? I think whenever I start to get down that rabbit hole, and I know Nicole mentioned that, like, you start to get a little philosophical and then you kind of have to like rein yourself in a little bit, you know, and just do what you can do in the moment. Like Shyama said, like, I think that's, I've caught myself in between those two things as an educator and as a person dealing with this whole thing. Returned from my first maternity leave in January, so I had 2.5 months of getting to know my students again and getting to know myself as a teacher again and striking. And so I really have more questions than answers, same as a lot of you, but my guiding question right now is, how can we model and teach how to be a person on the internet and online? I mean, I think that is crucial above all the, you know, platforms and softwares and interaction that's going on or not going on, as the case may be. I mean, some of us are figuring out how to be a person in this world in real life. But I think just in terms of Larry's question, digital citizenship is my big thing. And I'm trying to teach that through the subjects that I teach right now.
That's that's a great comment. I haven't actually heard that one yet. That's yeah, very important. That's a new element that has not yet been taught in schools, I guess. I mean, other than, you know, cyberbullying, that type of thing, but this is a whole new element there. Anyone else have any thoughts about the future, either September or beyond, in terms of yes, Craig?
So for the museum industry that we're in, there's been a trend of the last 5 to 10 years to make things more interactive and more accessible for the visitor. Now we have to go back and remove or alter all of these interactive elements due to not being able to clean them as often as properly as we need to. So we're actually reverting back to an older thematic museum where we're instructing more and offering more text and objects and images to look at, but less actual physical interaction between those objects. That's difficult for us to make that transition and try to figure out ways to make it still engaging for visitors to come to our space rather than just look up an exhibit online or read about it at home. What makes our space different? And on top of that, we're concerned in September that students and teachers in schools won't be coming to the museum at all, either due to school policy or board policy or provincial policy for field trips. So we're trying to think of ways to connect to students and teachers digitally that's meaningful and still gets the museum experience through to the classroom, but just with a screen. So we're having difficulty with that. So if at any point anybody has any suggestions for us, please, we'll take anything we can get right now.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Craig. And we've heard from some other museums across the country saying that they are integrating some of the digital platforms or programs that they've just started during this time, and they'll be using them going forward, kind of a hybrid version of what they've always offered in the interim anyways. Yes, Eve Graham.
I don't want to keep talking. I know we heard from a lot of educators, and I'm an educator as well, and I don't want to make this completely about education because I know there's plenty of other people in the arts sector that are here. But I'm also concerned about September because my participation rate hasn't been great with my students, even though I've been trying to engage them. And I have a lot of students at the beginning of this whole lockdown where I met with them on the virtual classroom. Our board has been using D2L. I'm from Grand Erie, I forgot to mention that at the beginning. But I found a lot of students, some of them would actually get up for the meeting, but I didn't want to see their video because they were sitting in their pajamas and stuff like that. So there's obviously that privacy thing. But I was only reaching probably about 9 of, I would say, 25 kids, right? Because those are the only kids that would actually get up before 2 o'clock. And even when I've called home and tried to talk to parents, it's like the kids are online all night, you know, they're watching Netflix or they're doing whatever, because to them it's like summertime. And I've had a real hard time like getting them to hand in assignments. And I feel like I'm only really teaching the kids that want to keep learning. And there's not a lot of them that are really interested, especially after the ministry released that their marks could not be affected because of the pandemic. So if we come to September and it becomes synchronous learning, I don't really, I'm hoping the kids will kind of wake up and realize that they have to do this, because I feel like there's not a carrot anymore for them to, to go for, because they don't have, they know that if they're passing, then they're passing and they're not going to fail. Right. And I teach kids, I teach in a board that we have a lot of rural parts to our board. We also, so there's internet access issues. There's a lot of privileged families, but the kids I teach in French immersion are usually the kids that have access to the computers, their parents care, stuff like that. But even these kids have really lost any kind of motivation that they had in order to continue learning and expand on their skills as an artist. Right. Or there's also the idea of not having paint at home, and I can't tell them to go out and buy it. Right. Because they're not supposed to go out. So there's all that as well. And I understand, we really feel for drama and music teachers, because at least with art, it's visual.
Right. Eve. Yes, I definitely did not let my son know that that the grades would not be going down from the from the first report card, because I think that that would have affected his effort level. Anyone else? Larry, do you move on to the second part of the question?
Okay, well, the second part of the question is really, I guess it's part of the same question, and you've been talking a little bit about it already. What are you going to do when you can't have people on site with them? What is that going to just be the same as before, or I could say, have you learned things, or are you, I don't know, what could I say? Is there some kind of practice that you would change based on your experience now for any on-site programming, whenever that can happen?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and Craig had started mentioning that in the museum, definitely more cleaning and whatnot. Yes, Tara.
One of our schools has had guest artists working with their students from the professional community, like a playwright or a director. And what the teacher has, her name is Tracy. She teaches at Mayfield Secondary School, which is a school for the arts in our district. And she has consulted with those professional artists in advance. She's paid them for their time, so they're still getting guest artist acknowledgement, honorarium of some sort. And she informs the students of when this session will be taking place, and then the students can do a bit of research about who that person is, where they work, what they do, and prepare some questions so that the interaction, the interview, or the live guest speaker, well, it's virtual, but it has even more significance. The students feel that their questions, which the artist has looked at in advance, are being directly addressed. And this teacher has had high student engagement for a couple of these sessions that she's run. So it's something to keep in mind that also supports the professional arts communities like the museums or galleries, because the creative process that they have not been able to engage in so much on the virtual forums, it's still something that they can theorize about and think about as they consult with professionals in the community. It builds the network, it builds awareness for the students as well. And this is a secondary school, but I'm sure that there are ways to do this as well in elementary.
Great, thank you. Anyone else have something to add? And very much interested in, and some people have mentioned this here today, but in terms of music classes, choir classes, and the drama and what's going to happen in September, and how that's all going to look, and how it's all going to be managed. I don't know. Nobody has answers, but does anyone have ideas? We'll definitely be following that closely.
For this might be a good time to bring in Caitlin, because Caitlin has been assembling resources. You folks have resources, and as you mention them, Caitlin scoops them up and adds them to her list. So Caitlin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing in terms of providing some resources?
Sure. So over the past, I guess, last week, and then from our first round of digital workshops, we were collecting all of the platforms that people were using for collaborating online. A lot of them were like in music, in the music sphere, I guess. But nonetheless, we compiled them into a document that I'll share with you all shortly. Admittedly, there's still nothing really great for like getting a group of kids together and doing like a choral rehearsal because of lag. So we haven't heard of a solution for that yet, but if you guys know of anything, that would be great for us to include in our resource. But nonetheless, the page also includes resources for funding opportunities and like other online resources for like tutorials, people who are doing free tutorials, resources for like teaching online, best practices for teaching online, and stuff like that. So yeah, and all the links you're sharing will be included also.
So if you have anything else that you found particularly useful and think others would as well, please do let us know, because this is actually our most popular page on our website by far over the last 2 months. It's getting a lot of hits, so people are really looking for resources, looking for lesson plans, looking for organizations that are offering these types of resources for teachers and parents even during this time, and also moving forward. So anyone else have any other questions or anything that they would like to get input on from peers or colleagues? Anything else that's been, yes, Craig?
I would like to ask specifically the educators here. Again, looking forward to some time in September, assuming that things get somewhat back to normal. We have students in classrooms potentially or otherwise. What are some resources, or what's value you can get out of a museum like ourselves? What would you like to see from museums in your area to help with education, to help with reaching students? Are there certain things you're looking for? Are there certain types of things that you're lacking that you'd like us to be able to provide? So just kind of in general, how you can see a museum, an art gallery, an aquarium, anything like that, integrating into your classrooms moving forward.
Anyone have any feedback for Craig? And it's interesting you say in your area, and of course that makes sense because that would be your immediate audience, the people you've created relationships with already. But really through digital, your audience is much broader. If you can reach them worldwide, really. Anybody have any thoughts on?
Also, I'll just say, if there's anything that you think our organization can do, or what, we are committed to helping people find digital strategies, but we're not you. So if there's something that you need so that we don't understand, if there's something that an organization that is trying to help you with digital, we don't have oodles of money, of course, we can't send a team down or anything, but in terms of what we are is a support organization. If there's something that you think would help, please let us know, either now or let us know when you think about it.
And Craig, I don't know if you saw the chat, but Nicole has responded to you in the chat there. And just to let you know, the chat, we will be posting it as well, along with the video of this session on our website. And we'll let you know tomorrow where you can find that as well. So yeah, anyone have any final thoughts or comments or questions at this point? Well, again, thank you everyone so much for this really interesting discussion. It's been great to hear what everyone is doing and the positives, and of course, how we can help in the future. Yes, Kathy. Mm-hmm. Oh, no?
Hi.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. I tried to post, but I've been having problems posting. So I just wanted to give you the URL for the videos that I streamed, because I'm not able to put it up on the chat. So it's www.laurention.ca/visual_arts/. But you could just Google search videos of visual artists in Greater Sudbury. So that's the problem with technology, right? And for those of us that have been working and teaching with it for 30, 40 years, you know, and with all the expertise that you have, and you've got these glitches, you know, with this and that not working. And so I think for whatever platforms that come out, and I've been spending time on my sabbatical, doing different workshops and things, you know, you always have to upgrade, you always have to change. And while some students are super tech savvy, others, well, you know, when I bring them into computer labs, they haven't used all those software programs and they don't really understand image effects tools and the relationship to photography and video, etc. Some are way out there, and you know, so you have this huge change in the learning skills. And so that's an adaptation in itself, just to be teaching people with such diverse skills in the same classroom. So I think that the more that we can help people feel comfortable with technology and actually get things to work and put that technology in everyone's hands, then the better off everyone will be. So it's great developing all this stuff. It's another thing that everybody can use it.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure we will find your link, and we'll share it on our resource page, and we'll get that up there. Oh, Caitlin, thank you, Caitlin. Caitlin just posted it on the chat for anyone who's interested there. Great. Well, thank you again, everyone. Larry, if you wanted to, if you had anything to say.
I just want to say thank you very much. It's just always a revelation of what's happening and what people are thinking and going through, and the hope we have, and then these obstacles that come in our way. And there seem to be an amazing number of obstacles, you know, so from organizational obstacles even. So I want to thank you very much. We will for sure make this available to you, of course, as a recording, but Nisa will be very busy preparing a report from it, and we'll use that for our advocacy and also to inform what we should be doing next. Should we have another series of these? Should we be focusing on some webinars? What can we do that can help you guys? So thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, thanks very much. Have a great rest of your day.